Thinking about doing your will online? For some, this is a fine idea, but for others, it is not. Listen to Attorney Klenk compare the pros and cons, and see what is the best fit for you.
Hi, it's Peter Klenk, Klenk Law, Trust and Estates. It's all we do. Here to talk to you about using online service to do your estate planning versus working with an attorney. I think it's apropos that I'm talking to you about this in a business center in Miami, Florida, at a hotel. Why am I doing that? Because life throws you weird curveballs. My flight from my vacation didn't make the connection, so I got to spend the night here in beautiful Miami, and I'm still here this morning, and I'll be here the rest of the day till I get my flight. Life threw me a little curveball. So, that's about the same with trust and estates. The online services are great if you're just doing a very simple, straightforward plan. You're giving all your assets to somebody, and they will never get sick. They will never get divorced. They'll never need government benefits. Nothing bad will ever happen to them. And this is the problem, right? We all like to think that that's the way life's going to be, but it's not. Sometimes you're going to end up in a business center in Miami. It's just going to be the way it is. So how does an attorney help you with that? Well, if you focus on trust and estates, you know that things can go wrong. So you're planning and going through options to address those things that might go off, the train off the track, so to speak. I like to say that. For example, kids. Come on. If you have kids, kids are chaos. Nothing ever goes the way you think it's going to be, and they just won't listen to what you say. So how do you protect them? Well, there's so many different ways, right? Mostly they come down to forming trusts. And trusts and forming the trust in the correct language for them in an online service, it's difficult to pick. But with an attorney, we can work with you. What are your concerns? Is that daughter-in-law? Is it maybe your child has some personal issues that need to be addressed? Maybe it's just that you want to make sure the money's safe in case a curveball comes, but you'd like to make sure the money ends up with your grandchildren someday if your kid doesn't spend it. These are all concerns I hear every day, which can be addressed with a trust, but they're addressed because I hear them, right? You don't know about these things. So it's hard for you to push the buttons and decide what's best for you, right? You need to let me hear and me throw out some examples, and then we brainstorm. I mean, that's the whole idea of how this works. It's a very organic process. So you need to work with somebody that you feel comfortable with. You're going to share some personal information with us, and you have to feel comfortable with that person, and then we're going to respond. Other things that can come up, it's just marriage. I mean, come on. We all know, it's not happily ever after. There's a few bumps that come in the road, especially if you have a second marriage. There's all sorts of different things that you might want to address. You want to make sure that your assets end up with your kids, maybe not with your spouse's next spouse after you pass. Or maybe you're already in a second marriage. I think there's more second marriages I see than first marriages. Very typical concerns, how to take care of your current spouse, but then make sure your assets end up with the children from your first marriage or your family. These are very typical concerns. Don't feel embarrassed about them. But again, if you feel uncomfortable with your spouse talking about them, well, maybe with an online service, you're just not going to address it. Whereas I'm going to bring it up because that's my job, right? We're going to talk about that. And there's definitely ways around that. There's just examples. There's things called contract to will, where you bind each other so that when the second person dies, the assets have to go in a certain way. Or there are just trusts that can set up to make sure your spouse is taken care of. But then when they pass, even if they owe people money, they've run up big bills, they've had some medical issues, your assets go to your family. Those are two just examples, but very typical things that we address every day. So these are issues that people need to listen to. And then it's the tone of the voice, right? Do you have an issue that you're concerned with your child? Maybe, if I hear the tone of voice, I can ask you and we'll get there. Or when you're setting up a trust for somebody like a child, making sure that both sides of the family are involved. Maybe one side is the guardian, the other side's the trustee handling the money. Maybe there's a third person in charge of monitoring the trustee to make sure everything's on the straight and narrow. Lots of different options that only come when you have that sort of interplay between yourself and the attorney, somebody who does trust and estates like we do, that have the experience. And then there's just assets. When you have an IRA or 401k, handling what happens at your death is completely different. It's a completely different set of rules than there are with just a bank account or your house. So those are also issues that are just good to bounce around with an attorney. Now, which one? Well, like our ad says, it's all we do, right? So when you look around, and I don't know where you're at, we principally work in Pennsylvania and in New Jersey. I'm licensed in New York and Florida also, but we mostly work down in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. You want to look around for somebody who just does this. All these things I've talked about, if your attorney doesn't focus on this area, well, then keeping up on it is very difficult. Like I would never sue somebody on a personal injury suit. Could I? I'm an attorney. I'm licensed. Of course I could, but I don't do that. I'm never going to be as good at it as it would be with somebody who does it all the time. And that really does mean a lot for trust and estates, because you're dealing with taxes, you're dealing with trust works, you're dealing with the probate process, avoiding litigation, all these things that come up, and you really have to focus on it to know about what to address. So, but there you go. So if you have a simple situation, you don't have much money, you're leaving your money maybe to a charity and they're just going to use it, or you're leaving it to a kid and your kid's going to spend it in Vegas right after your funeral and protecting it just doesn't matter. An online service is fine. It really is fine. But if you have, if there's the potential of curveballs, if there's the potential of ending up in a business center in Miami someday for somebody along the line, having an attorney to go to is just a better option. So remember to like and subscribe. If you enjoy this, I'll keep posting them, hopefully not from my house or my office in the future. And we'll have other topics we'll talk about. If you have any questions, email me. Maybe if you have a topic for a video I'd be happy to address, just email me. You can find it at klenklaw.com. That's KLENKLAW.com. Again, like and subscribe. Look forward to talking again next time. Be well.